Black Hollow. Even the name sounded like something from a fairy tale. Nestled in a valley, guarded by towering pines and shrouded in mist, it was the kind of place artists painted and poets dreamed of. Autumn painted the trees in fiery hues, a stark contrast to the ever-present fog that clung to the ground. Life moved a little slower in Black Hollow. People still greeted each other on the streets, their smiles genuine, their eyes reflecting the warmth of a tight-knit community. And every year, when the air turned crisp and the leaves began to fall, the town came alive with the spirit of the Harvest Festival. The festival was a tradition as old as Black Hollow itself, a celebration of the land's bounty, a time for families to come together and give thanks. The air buzzed with anticipation, children's laughter echoing through the cobblestone streets, the aroma of pumpkin spice and cinnamon heavy in the air. The legend of the Harvest Man was a tale told in hushed tones, shared only by the flickering light of a fireplace, when shadows danced on the walls. It spoke of a time when Black Hollow was young, its settlers struggling to survive. Desperate, they turned to ancient rituals, whispered prayers to the Harvest Man. He promised prosperity in exchange for a sacrifice, a life for a life, offered up every year at midnight on Halloween. Over time, the true nature of the bargain faded into myth. The Harvest Festival continued, a celebration of life. But for those who listened closely, there were whispers of unease, a prickling of skin when the wind howled. The elders spoke of a presence that haunted the town, waiting for the appointed hour. The festival, once joyous, was now tainted with fear, a sense of foreboding that clung to the revelry. A young soul was chosen to wear the harvest mask, a grotesque pumpkin carved into a horrifying visage. It was said to bring good fortune, but in the shadows, a different truth whispered. The mask was a mark, a grim reminder of the ancient pact. The Harvest Man was waiting. The Harvest Festival, a riot of color and sound, a sensory feast that pulsed with the heart of Black Hollow. The air, thick with the aroma of spiced cider and roasting pumpkin seeds, children, their faces painted with ghoulish grins, darted through the crowds. Farmers proudly displayed their prize-winning pumpkins. Music, a lively jig, drifted from the town square. But beneath the surface, a current of unease ran through Black Hollow. The elders, their faces etched with whispered secrets, watched with guarded weariness. The legend of the Harvest Man was not just a story. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows, the weight of the secret grew heavier. Emily Turner, her notepad clutched tightly, watched the festivities with a mixture of fascination and unease. She had arrived in Black Hollow a few weeks earlier, drawn by its quaint charm and the promise of a story. The Harvest Festival was an event not to be missed. The vibrant colors, the infectious laughter, the sense of community. It was like stepping into a fairy tale. But Emily, a journalist by trade, couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. There was a tension in the air, an undercurrent of apprehension. The smiles seemed a little too wide, the laughter a little too forced. And the eyes of the townsfolk held a flicker of something she couldn't quite place. Was it fear? Or something else? Emily, her curiosity piqued, made her way through the crowd. She listened as the elders shared the legend of the Harvest Man, their voices hushed, and she felt a shiver run down her spine as she caught sight of the harvest mask. There was a story here. She could feel it. A story that ran deeper than the colorful decorations and the festive atmosphere. And Emily, her reporter's instincts kicking in, was determined to uncover it. The Black Hollow Library was a haven of quiet in the midst of the festival chaos. Emily, her fingers trailing along the spines of dusty tomes, breathed in the scent of old paper and leather. She had spent days poring over the town's archives, searching for any mention of the Harvest Man. The legend spoke of a pact between the town's founders and a malevolent entity, a promise of prosperity in exchange for a yearly sacrifice. But was it merely a myth? A cautionary tale? Or was there something more to it? Emily, her skepticism warring with unease, delved deeper into her research. She uncovered old newspaper articles, their headlines screaming of unexplained disappearances. She found entries in the town ledgers, cryptic notes hinting at a dark secret. And as she pieced together the fragments, a chilling picture emerged. The legend of the Harvest Man was more than just a story. It was a history, a legacy of fear and sacrifice. And as Emily closed the final book, a sense of dread settled over her. The Harvest Festival was fast approaching. And this year, it seemed, history was poised to repeat itself. The aroma of pipe tobacco hung heavy in the air, a comforting presence in the dimly lit study. Old Man Hargrove, his face a roadmap of time and wisdom, peered at Emily over his spectacles.
So, you're the curious one. Come to pry into matters best left undisturbed.
Emily shifted uncomfortably, aware of the weight of history pressing down on the room. The moment she'd uttered the words, "Harvest Man," a chill had settled over the room. A darkness we try to outrun, but it always finds us. The air in the study thickened, silence punctuated by the ticking of an old grandfather clock. Days turned into weeks, each one drawing Emily deeper into the labyrinthine history of Black Hollow. She spent countless hours in the library, the scent of aging paper and leather, a constant companion. She found accounts of disappearances, always around Halloween. The authorities attributed it to accidents, but the dates told a different story. Diaries spoke of a presence, a darkness that descended upon Black Hollow. We are never truly safe, not while he walks among us. The townsfolk weren't just guarding a secret, they were prisoners to it. The festive atmosphere now felt like a macabre facade. The air in Black Hollow grew heavy with unspoken truths. Emily noticed a change in the townsfolk, a guarded look in their eyes, a hesitancy in their smiles. Their conversations, once filled with warmth and laughter, were now laced with a nervous energy. She tried to broach the subject of the Harvest Man, hoping to find someone willing to break the silence. But her questions were met with evasive answers, nervous glances, and a wall of silence more impenetrable than any physical barrier. Even Old Man Hargrove, who had initially offered glimpses into the town's dark past, now refused to speak of it. His eyes, once filled with a sorrowful wisdom, now held a flicker of fear, a plea for her to let it go. But Emily couldn't let it go. The more the town retreated into its secrets, the more determined she became to uncover the truth. There was a darkness at the heart of Black Hollow, a darkness that threatened to consume them all. And she, an outsider who stumbled upon their carefully guarded secret, was the only one who could stop it. As the days dwindled down to a precious few, a palpable sense of unease settled over Black Hollow. The air grew colder, the nights longer, and the shadows seemed to stretch further, as if the darkness itself was encroaching upon the town. Emily felt a growing sense of dread, a premonition that something terrible was about to happen. She noticed the townsfolk becoming increasingly agitated, their movements quicker, their whispers more frantic. The festival preparations continued, but the joyous atmosphere of previous years was gone, replaced by a forced gaiety that did little to mask the fear that lurked beneath the surface. The leaves on the trees, once vibrant hues of red and gold, now lay withered and brown on the ground, a stark reminder of the impending decay that threatened to engulf the town. And as the eve of Halloween dawned, a cold wind swept through Black Hollow, carrying with it the promise of something sinister, something ancient and evil, something that whispered of forgotten bargains and the terrible price of appeasement. Halloween morning dawned over Black Hollow like a shroud. The sky, usually a crisp autumn blue, was choked with heavy gray clouds, their shadows mirroring the fear that gripped the town. The air, thick with the scent of decaying leaves and wood smoke, crackled with a nervous energy. Emily watched from her window as the townsfolk moved through the streets, their faces drawn and pale, their movements hurried and furtive. The festive decorations, once so vibrant and cheerful, now hung limply in the oppressive atmosphere, their colors muted by the encroaching gloom. Even the children, usually a whirlwind of excitement on Halloween, seemed subdued, their laughter strained, their eyes wide and wary. Their costumes, meant to evoke playful fear, now seemed chillingly real in the unnerving silence that had settled over Black Hollow. A shiver ran down Emily's spine as she felt the weight of the town's secret pressing down on her. Tonight was the night. The night the Harvest Man would come to claim his due. And despite her skepticism, despite her rational mind screaming at her to dismiss it all as superstitious nonsense, she couldn't shake the feeling that something truly sinister was about to unfold. The town square, usually a hive of activity on Halloween, was eerily deserted. The festive stalls stood abandoned, their colorful banners flapping listlessly in the wind. The only movement came from a small group of elders gathered near the ancient oak tree. Their faces, etched with worry, were illuminated by the flickering light of a lantern. Their voices, low and guttural, rose and fell in a rhythmic chant. Suddenly the wind picked up, swirling around them with a vengeance, and then, with a resounding crack, a single branch snapped from the oak tree. The mask had chosen. As dusk settled over Black Hollow, casting long, eerie shadows across the town, the townsfolk emerged, their faces illuminated by flickering lanterns, masks of fear and resignation. At the head walked a young boy, his face pale, eyes wide with terror. He wore the Harvest mask, its grotesque features illuminated by the lantern. Emily watched from the shadows, her heart pounding. She had to do something. The procession stopped at the edge of town, before a dilapidated barn that stood shrouded in darkness. The air grew heavy with the scent of decay, sending a shiver down Emily's spine. The silence was broken only by the rustling of leaves. The elders led the chosen boy towards the barn. The heavy wooden doors creaked open, revealing the secrets hidden within. The boy hesitated at the threshold, then stepped inside with a gentle nudge. The doors closed behind him with a resounding thud. Emily watched from the shadows. She had to help that boy. Taking a deep breath, she slipped from her hiding place and crept towards the barn. She heard a low chanting coming from within, sending a shiver down her spine. Emily hesitated at the barn door. The air hung thick and heavy, a suffocating blend of incense and decay. Emily's flashlight beam cut through the oppressive darkness. The barn floor had given way to a crude staircase. The chanting grew louder as she descended. The air grew colder, the scent of damp earth and something metallic. Fear urged her to turn back, but the boy's terrified face fueled her resolve. She had come too far to turn back now. Reaching the bottom, Emily found herself in a vast chamber. Torches illuminated a scene that sent a chill to her core. In the center stood a stone altar, stained crimson, and bound to that altar was the boy. A dozen figures, their faces hidden beneath dark, hooded robes, surrounded the altar. Their chanting, now a fevered, whispered prayer, seemed to reverberate through the very earth, a chorus of desperation and dread. Emily's flashlight beam danced across their forms, revealing nothing but shadows and the glint of something metallic in their hands. One of the figures, taller than the others, his robe adorned with intricate embroidery, stepped forward. He raised his arms, and the chanting ceased abruptly, the silence almost deafening in the wake of the rhythmic pronouncements.
The hour is upon us. The Harvest Man demands his due. Bring forth the offering.
Stop! Emily's voice, though barely a whisper in the vast chamber, seemed to echo with an unnatural resonance. The figures froze, their heads turning towards her, their shadowed faces filled with a mixture of surprise and anger. The tall figure, his voice laced with menace, addressed her.
Who dares interfere with the ancient rites?
This is wrong. You can't sacrifice a child. It's barbaric. A collective gasp arose from the hooded figures. The tall figure took a step towards her, his voice low and dangerous.
You know not what you speak of, outsider. This is the price of our prosperity, the pact made by our forefathers to ensure bountiful harvests and ward off evil.
There has to be another way. You can't just offer up a life to appease some creature of legend.
Legend? You think this is merely a story? A fable told to frighten children? You will learn, girl, that some legends are best left undisturbed. Some pacts, once made, cannot be broken.
The light grew brighter, filling the chamber with an unbearable heat. The hooded figures cried out in pain, scrambling to escape. The boy, a conduit for ancient power, turned towards them, eyes blazing.
No more sacrifices. The pact is broken. The harvest man is banished.
A deafening roar shook the chamber. Then the light faded, leaving only the echo of the boy's proclamation. She had witnessed something extraordinary, both terrifying and awe-inspiring. As Emily climbed the stairs, she knew Black Hollow would never be the same. Silence. A heavy, suffocating silence blanketed the chamber, broken only by the hiss of dying torches and Emily's frantic heartbeat. Hooded figures lay scattered, their robes smoldering, bodies eerily still. Emily's gaze fixed on the tall figure, his hand near the discarded harvest mask. Others lay face down, bodies curled in fear, frozen in silent pleas. Stepping out of the barn, Emily was greeted by the crisp air of a new dawn. The sky shimmered with the soft hues of sunrise. The oppressive weight on the town seemed to have lifted. She drew in a deep breath, the crisp air filling her lungs. As light spread over the town, Emily saw signs of life returning. Doors creaked open, revealing sleepy-eyed residents. Whispers grew louder as neighbors shared accounts of strange dreams. Emily watched a young couple, their faces etched with relief. As the sun climbed higher, a sense of cautious optimism spread. News of the hooded figure's fate spread quickly, whispers of the strange events at the barn passing from person to person. Fear, though still present, was tinged with a newfound hope. The cycle of fear and sacrifice that had haunted Black Hollow for generations had finally been broken. The harvest man, the creature of myth and legend, was gone, banished by a force far more ancient and powerful. Neighbors helped each other, sharing stories and offering comfort. The ancient oak tree now stood tall and proud in the town square. The harvest festival was transformed into a true celebration of life and community. Children ran through the streets, their laughter a testament to the town's newfound freedom. Emily had come to Black Hollow seeking a story, but found something far greater. She witnessed the resilience of the human spirit, the power of hope to triumph over fear. As she prepared to leave, she knew the memory of Black Hollow would stay with her always. A reminder that even in the darkest of times, light has a way of finding its way through. Emily left Black Hollow a changed woman. The events of that Halloween had shaken her to her core, but she also carried with her a newfound strength, a belief in the power of courage and compassion. She returned to her life as a journalist, to shine a light on hidden truths, and to inspire others to fight for what was right. Though she never returned to Black Hollow, she carried the town and its people with her always. It was a reminder that even in the darkest of nights, a single spark of courage can ignite a fire that burns away the shadows.